You're listening to Thrill Talk, where we discuss business, life, and everything else we like. Produced in Tucson, Arizona, and brought to you by Team Integrity Homes and the Military PCS Referral Network. Here's Aaron and Chase.
All right, we are back at it, ladies and gentlemen. Both of you, one lady, one gentleman that is listening. My mom, your dad.
That's right, the only two.
Yep.
So, you know what? Why do we even post it anywhere? Just send it to them in an email. You know?
Or just invite them to lunch.
Yes.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. Dude, you have racked up some miles recently.
A little bit.
Let's go over your last month. Where have you been?
I think the list is closer where I have not been.
True.
A little bit shorter there. So
you've hit up Kansas City,
Green Bay,
Denver.
Man, you got me thinking back. I can't even think about what I had for breakfast, let alone
good call.
The last month. But
good call. Age has nothing to do with
it has
that.
nothing. Stop.
Zero.
Shut it.
So we are going to do back-to-back podcasts today. They will tie into each other just organizationally. So part one, today we're going to cover something that you've been looking at a lot recently, and that's givers, takers, and matchers.
Yeah, and you know what? This is going to be a very sensitive topic, actually, because some people may not like to hear some stuff, and but it's reality. Let's talk about this. I think it's really cool.
And every single person's going to fit into one of these.
Well, it's only one of the three.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can go from one to another. But anyhow, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So givers, takers, and matchers. This is a conversation in relation to, let's just use organizational right now. But also, I think that this can be boiled down to extremely remedial sports teams.
Yes.
Right? It is going to permeate every single aspect of your life, and you may be a giver in one area, a taker in a different, or a matcher in one. Mm-hmm.
And at different times.
Correct. Yep. So let's talk about this. First, let's go at a 30,000 foot overview of just briefly a definition of each one, and then we'll kind of unpack each one so that we can maybe get a pulse, or somebody that's listening could get a read on.
I agree. And that's the thing. I think defining it really. Understanding what it is, first of all, can kind of lead into the other areas, which is going to really define it.
Yeah. So what would you on a napkin describe as a giver?
A napkin? Yep. Somebody that gives. No, seriously, it's somebody that's actually looking out for others' behalf more than their own. And I think we all know that there's times when we do that, or there's individuals that we know that they're literally trying to give advice on something that they know something quite a bit about. However, when they look at their own, in other words, let's just look at a landscaper. They're out there manicuring everybody else's lawn, taking care of all this other stuff, but you look at theirs and it's like, what in the world? What kind of jungle is that? You know, they know how to do it. They know what how to take care of that stuff. But taking care of their own is their own. They are their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
At that, you know.
Sometimes you can give to a fault.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but, givers, but the thing is I think that the underlying factor is what are the emotions behind being a giver, behind being a taker, and behind being a matcher? Because the matcher is the confusing one to a lot of people, meaning that they can match, but they have an underlying factor behind it, which is sometimes kind of dark.
Yeah.
The
motivation.
They're a giver on the outside until they get to a point to where, they get what they want, and then so they were pretty much taken the whole time.
Yeah. So giver, so what's somebody that is a taker? I know these are
somebody
or a definition.
A definition of somebody,
taker.
Somebody doing things for the wrong reason, but making it look like it's for their own reason. Salesy. Salesy's one. It's like you're taking, but you're never depositing back into other people. Good. You're taking for yourself.
And I think of a taker too as somebody that is going to push their agenda, whatever that may be, even if it
Correct.
is going to negatively impact somebody
Without
else.
an open mind. A lot of
Yeah.
people say they have an open mind, but they're not listening. You know, they want to get their point across, and then they shut everything down.
They're open within their box.
Yes.
Yep. And then a matcher. This one is probably one that we will spend the most time on.
Yeah. It's typically those people are in it for, like I say, a predetermined amount of time. They will match to the group or people because of selfish reasons or because of their own reasons. I shouldn't say selfish, which can lead to selfish. Let's just say that, for their own reasons.
Yeah.
And then...
And a matcher is a lot of times going to look like a giver.
Absolutely. So let me give you an example in real estate. We were talking about this a little bit. Somebody that would want to jump on a real estate team, knowing right up front, right out of the gate, that I'm going to learn what they know right now just so I can go out and start my own team. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, as long as everybody is clear up front. But when they're not clear up front, they're not a giver.
There's a clear understanding up front.
Exactly. So they're acting like a giver for a predetermined amount of time when they're actually being a taker.
Yeah.
During that situation.
Yeah.
So, like I say, it sounds like it's negative, but it's not. I mean, as long as everybody is clear up front what the intention is going in, that's totally fine.
So let's kind of unpack it in this fashion. Let's go with taker first, matcher, and then we'll end on a positive note of a giver.
Yeah.
So when we look at takers, is when somebody is a taker, they're going into every scenario, every situation, and they're looking at their number one question is, what's in it for me?
Absolutely.
What's in it for me?
So if I can back up just a little bit, one of the things that I was doing some research on this. Statistically, this is what was amazing to me, that the most successful. Now, here's the thing: we have to define success. The most successful people, if you were to put them in these three different groups, the interesting piece is the most successful were actually givers.
Yep.
Okay. The least successful were actually givers. So you're like, whoa, how does that happen? And it was a very interesting experiment. What they ran is because in the very beginning, people were just giving everything that they had and ultimately not receiving anything in return. But what happened is, with human nature, people started reciprocating that type of,
Becomes contagious.
Exactly. So then in due time, they stayed givers. And then in the long run, everybody wanted to help them at the very end. So years go by, they are literally receiving the seeds that they
Somebody said that
dropped in.
somebody said is very important is when they were in need, other people were, I would assume, probably noticed the need before they even did, and they were so quick to give and to help out
without expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
That's a giver. A lot of people go, yeah, I give. But with no expectation in return. There's so many
because they
people
made a
that
bunch
will
of
go,
deposits
well,
already.
I do this, I do that. That's great. What even registers in your head to even keep score?
Yeah.
When you're keeping score, you're not a giver.
No,
you're more of a matcher.
Yep.
Seriously. And then so a giver is like, I don't even know what I did, really. I just know.
So a funny thing about that is we just got back from Mexico, went with my buddy Steve and his family, and it was one of those where you're on the beach, you go to restaurants, whatnot. We always bring cash when we go down, and we were on the beach and they sell a bunch of stuff, and over the couple of days, we'd buy stuff for them, they'd buy stuff for us, so on and so forth, and we had no cash with us. It was up in the room, and Steve had some, and the kids wanted to buy sunglasses. And it was going to come out to like $40, and we said something like that. And I was going, Steve, I'll get you back when we get up to the room. He's like, no, I'm not worried about it. He goes, when we're friends like this, we don't keep track of the money.
Yeah.
It all works itself out. I know it's a small example, but it's true. Is when you're giving, and we talked about it with investing yesterday. Is sometimes when you invest, you're investing in somebody's idea, but you're really investing in that person with no thought of getting any return back. If you do, great, you're investing. So truly giving, knowing that you may not see an ROI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So matcher. Matcher may be the scariest one.
I agree because there's a Jekyll and Hyde to it.
Yeah. So a matcher would be someone that matches for a long term, for long term. For
They're
selfish
perceived as a
reasons.
giver, is the way I'm hearing that from you.
Absolutely, because they're matching. They're working. They see somebody else giving, so they'll give too. They'll help carry the burden, shoulder it. But the way I can describe it is they've always got one hand on the injection cord. You know, like they're like a pilot. They're giving everything, but as soon as it gets too bad,
I'm out.
They're out.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of time with matchers matchers will do the bare minimum to fly under the radar, instead of, the matcher side will often go unnoticed, and because they kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. You mentioned that the thing that goes through my head is, for the two people that are watching.
Yeah.
I guarantee, because I do this, well, I should say that names start coming to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Of like, oh, that person's good. Oh, that person's a matcher. Oh, you know what? And it puts up a guard sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to do is get over the fact of whether they're givers or takers or matchers, whatever, and just understand their side, because they're not going to come to our side.
No.
We got to understand their side of the situation or the what's going on before we can even.
I think a lot of time matchers will give unless it hurts, versus somebody that is a true giver. They'll give even when it hurts them. Matchers will give until it gets uncomfortable. Then they go, nah, that's.
It's interesting because in business, there's the one phrase that I hear that I can pick up on pretty clearly is when people are like, okay, this is business. So bottom line, what's in it for me? You know, it's like, okay, that right there is a defining moment right there, if your expectations are clear on the front end, you'll never have to, encounter that. However, that's why it's important to make sure that things are clear and, precise on the front end, so you don't have to clean up the back end of like what we talk about.
So you had, with matchers, you'd kind of give an example of real estate school.
Yeah. And I'll say a real estate school. Somebody goes to real estate school, their intent is to do what? Get into business of real estate.
Sell real estate.
Yeah, that's right. The school's not intended for that.
Nope.
The school is not going to teach you how to do real estate. They're not there to teach you how to be successful. They're there for one thing, and it's to get you to pass the test. You pay up front, X amount of dollars, and with their systems in place, whether it's CDs or audiobooks or in person, whatever, online, their intent is to get you to pass the test because the credibility, because they keep score. Everybody keeps scoring like, hey, if you go to this school, you have a higher success rate. So therefore, their job, though, is to get you to pass the test. That's it.
Yeah.
If you really look at the bare bones of it.
And once they're done, you're done.
That's right.
That's
right. You don't have to, you paid them, let's say it's $700. You paid them $700, you're done.
Yeah. How many times do you
Whether you pass or fail.
How many times do you go to Hogan School Real Estate now?
Oh, yeah, I know where it's at.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
It's it's there for a reason. And the matchers too, the thing that kind of gets me a little bit more with the matchers than the takers is with takers, I think that you can pretty quickly identify who's a taker. Mm-hmm. Like you can work with somebody for a little bit and go, that guy's going to do the bare minimum, and he's only going to work when it suffices him alone. Versus a matcher kind of rubs me wrong because they go into it with it's fake and it's like, put it this way, is with a taker, I can clear cut go, I can count on them in this area because I know it's going to help them out, and that's it, but at least we'll get it done. With a matcher, I'm kind of going,
what's the underlying factor here?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And are you going to leave me high and dry?
And you know what? It sounds like maybe that we're talking that takers are bad, and that's not the thing either. The thing is there's a time to take. That's for sure.
Yeah.
If somebody's in survival mode, they need to take.
Yep.
And
there's certain times within organizations where you need a bunch of takers.
That's right. That's
like,
right.
yeah, I don't. With where we're at in our, here's a perfect example. Okay, in our organization, for team integrity for a Tucson location, 3 weeks ago, we went to the VA hospital. We went to one of the long-term inpatient parts of the VA hospital, catered in carne asada and tacos and everything, brought some games, and spent like an equivalent of 4 hours there with some veterans that were there. And that had nothing. Nobody is probably going to pick up a transaction out of
Correct.
that. But that's where we need in our organization is people that are going to buy in as a whole, that are givers. Now, on the other side, with takers, there may be certain times in your organization where you need a bunch of people that are selfish and they just want to get paid and get the job done.
I'll give you
And
an
that's
example.
okay.
And I don't know if you were gone last week, but I don't know if you know about this one here. Last week, I'll give you a prime example with one of the agents that was on a team. Guy shows up to work, and all of a sudden he goes, oh, new guy. Set an appointment, right? And he goes, oh, okay, I got an appointment, but I don't have a car. I'm like,
Yeah.
What? How the heck did you get to work? My wife dropped me off. He goes, oh, and not only that, but I left my cell phone at the house. I'm like, what in the world? Holy crap. So this isn't a perseverance talk or determination,
Yeah.
but ultimately this individual did that. Now, another individual that was overdue on tasks, because we've been kind of nipping, not nipping,
And
keeping accountable on tasks.
To keep it in context, tasks for us is all of our agents show up every day, and there's a certain amount of tasks they have of who do I need to call, what do I need to do.
Exactly.
So every day they have tasks.
Yeah,
they
and
gotta
and
complete
this
it.
will lead into the next conversation on the next podcast. But ultimately, that accountability on that individual, he's already overdue tasks. Now, he's like, "Hey, dude, I'll take you to this appointment that you just set," knowing he's already overdue, knowing that risking that piece. But you know what? It's basically that's a giver right there.
Oh, for sure.
I am giving to make sure that this individual gets what he needs, knowing darn well in return that he's not going to receive anything monetary,
yeah.
Money-wise or
Just
whatever you
doing
want to call it, because he's trying to help the other person.
But it goes back to what you said at the very beginning of the podcast. Did people do that for him early in his career?
There you go. Yeah. And I think as soon as you start to see that and you start to give back, now let me ask you the question. Do you think that individual can call on that guy that didn't have the vehicle and go, hey, I got a real quick favor to ask of you?
Yeah.
He's going to be like, oh, heck yeah.
Which
unlike a taker, now you ask a taker, I'm not even going to go there.
yeah, when you have somebody that's purely a taker and has that that aura, if you will, I don't know what the word is about them, they're a taker. Very rarely Very rarely do they get people jumping in line to help them.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? That hurts emotionally.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be perceived as a taker.
But here's my other thing is I think that a lot of takers are so self-involved, they don't have room to think about other people's opinions.
I guarantee that. And what's sad is they need to pick up on the indicators that they're a taker.
Correct. Yeah, that's a big one. Like I look at not to say this is going to jump to conclusions. Our coach Kristen has a call center. I guarantee you that the people that are at the call center, they show up and they are there for a paycheck. And when they leave, I don't think that they are worried about the organization on a Saturday and Sunday.
Correct.
So I'm not saying like they're bad takers, but they show up, they go, what's in it for me? I need to do this. And then I'm done.
That's right.
But guess what? That is an integral part to our organization.
Yes, indeed. Like I say, you need a balance of those.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. But the giver and the taker, but it would be different if those people showed up and they're like, I'm learning everything about call centers, and then I'm going to get trained, and then I'm going to leave in 6 months and open up my own call center.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's a matcher that's going to do the bare minimum. So, yeah. Who, and this is kind of on the spot, who are some of the biggest people in your world that you know that are givers? And what are some of the characteristics about them that make them a giver?
I think, there's two people that come to mind. and one I haven't talked to in a little while, is Anthony is ours one.
Mm-hmm.
Another individual is Kristen Cole. And this is outside of our team as well, because I know that, here's the thing, I know that there's a ton of givers that are on our team. That,
Oh, yeah.
And we call it, who would fall on the sword
Yeah.
for you, There's literally everybody that I served with that I know of, to be honest with you. So, again, it's surrounding yourself with those type of people. There's an abundant amount of people that are givers. But if you talk about some people from a business side of it, I would have to say Chris or Anthony.
Yeah. And they give with no expectation in return.
Yes. And then I think that for a taker or a matcher or a taker, they are always questioning, why in the world would they do that?
They don't get it.
So that if you're asking that question seriously about somebody, you may not be a giver.
Here's what is absolutely stunning about those two people and just that personality as a whole. Kristen and Anthony, for example, can spot a taker from a mile away. Mm-hmm. They could have a conversation with somebody for 3 minutes and go, I am not going to make any deposits into this person because I know they're in it for the wrong reason.
I will say that, I don't want to say it's a weakness, but I have no reason not to trust somebody until they prove me wrong, or they cross that line, and I have a hard time going back because it's like I gave so much on the front end to where it's like I just because that trust is a huge piece of it as well.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is something that to kind of shift it to the life lesson for anybody that's listening is with my little kids, I look at how each one of them can play a part in school, their class, their sports, to be either a giver, taker, or a matcher. I think of the or obviously we hope they're all givers, right? Especially when they're in the group setting like that. But there's just a ton to learn. There is a ton to learn about that.
Well, it goes back to, you got kids and anybody. Would you rather receive a gift or would you rather give one? I feel awkward when I receive gifts. I just do. I don't know. However, when I was younger, heck yeah, bring it on.
It goes back to the old example of Christmas. Christmas was cool when you were young. It's way cooler when you're a dad or like a grandpa you are now. Like, there's nothing better. You don't have to get a single thing for Christmas this year, and you get to watch the little 2-year-old twins open presents. And know what? It is totally worth it.
What is cool is you get to be there in life to be able to experience that. That's what's cool. That's what you're getting. And once you start to realize that versus, materialistic pieces, it's cool.
And I don't know where this fits into it, but we talk about like building homes in Mexico and stuff. It's equally beneficial, right? I feel like a giver and a taker when I build, because I'm giving a house, and they think that they're winning because they're getting a house, but I feel like I've won because I got to help out and experience that.
Well, good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So, giver, taker, matcher. I think some indicators would be you are nailing the giving side if you have people that are constantly wanting to give and help you out because they see that in you. On the taker side, I would say a leading indicator, if you're probably a taker, is if there's nobody, if you're on an island by yourself.
You're lonely.
Yeah.
You're going to be lonely.
If you constantly are scratching your head going, how come nobody's pouring in or helping me? That's probably it. Like, I look at gal on our team, Jessica. She is a giver at heart, and we will help her out in any means necessary. And you run towards that.
You do.
Those are the type
you
of
want to help people succeed when you know what they're done. So the barriers are down, you help them. Dude.
Absolutely.
All
right. We will be doing part 2 here in a little bit. What's part 2 going to cover?
Oh, we're going to be hitting what? What are some of the questions that people ask us?
Yeah, so
You
this
know, from a team standpoint. Real estate.
This or just organizationally.
Yes.
We had a call for about an hour with another real estate team lead, and just wanted to kind of pick her brains about stuff. And we've had that so many times that we were like, hey, let's do a little bit of podcast about that. So part 2, we're going to record here in a little bit, and we'll be out about a week after this one, is going to look at what are the top 5 traits in our organization that we share and talk about the most.
That's right. Or get questions on.
Get questions on, for sure. And that note, we are out.
Peace.